Traders, what's up? It's Kyle from K Capital. It is the 8th of December. Apologies for the delay in the video. It's been about a week and a half or 2 weeks. Had some technical difficulties last night, so happy to finally catch back up here. So today was another down day. This is yesterday's close in the Dow, where we finished around 1773. We're down another 162 points to 17,568. We're holding still the 200-day moving average, which is obviously a key level. But again, there's so much macro news that's really driving the fundamentals to be bearish here that, our trades are really going to be neutral for the time being, and our stance on the overall market is going to be neutral. And as such, we have liquidated a few positions. For the most part, they've been winners, but we'll get to that in a minute. The Russell 2000, you can see we finished basically even on the day. Again, this is yesterday's close, but 1159 was the close for today. Again, the 200-day moving average is really going to serve as a significant level of resistance. But once we break that, the market's settled down. Crude and the volatility in the Middle East is really driving the macro picture for the time being. Add in the fact that terrorism is a big concern. Donald Trump is just saying whatever he wants. Granted, that might not seem like it has a direct impact on the markets, but it's going to add to an underlying theme of concern across really the United States. If we want to look at the SPX, we're going to see a similar pattern to the Dow, to where the 200-day moving average is really going to hold, or is holding for the time being. And you see the area highlighted in blue is really just a bunch of selling pressure that's going to continue to maintain. And as you can see, every time we really got to the upper level of this band, we sold off. So first and foremost, let's get to some of our nice winners. We closed the rest of MGPI today. MGPI has been just a complete monster for us. We obviously went long, as this is kind of alluding to, right in this area, and then we added to that several times. We also closed 3 different times, or 3 separate alerts. So the range, I think, was anywhere from 22 to 28% we've locked in here in a couple weeks. It's perfect setup, exactly what we're looking for. The type of situation that, you really need to take profits here. And the reason I kind of hesitated there is when you see candles just straight up go vertical for 8 days in a row, it's bound to sell off. And I promise you, it's going to, basically what's going to happen here, it's going to sell off, and it's going to sell off pretty hard. So we locked in this gain. Let's take it. It's definitely something that I'm very proud of, because I know a lot of you made some nice money on this. Open positions, we have ACXM. Again, this is really the type of situation that's going to hold, hopefully, the EMA bands here. What really attracted me to this position is the overall long-term pattern here. Now that we're definitely trading above the 200-day moving average, and if we take a closer look, we can see that, we broke through this level of support and starting to make a nice, consistent base before I personally think we go up and see 26 plus. So again, something that we're just going to be patient with, but for the time being, I think our average price here is $21.50. So we're basically up $1 in this position for the time being. Our other positions for the current foreseeable future are ZIXE. We closed TTI, which I'll get to in a minute. So ZIXE has been testing the EMA pattern here. And it's bounced nicely, which is really good to see, because this pattern, or this horizontal resistance level of 546 to 550 is now recovering. So we're seeing a nice bounce. Ideally, I want to see this trade sideways for a little bit before moving back up to 6. But it's something I'm going to continue to watch. Obviously, our mental stops right around the 520 to 5 range. So right now, no really major news in this position. It's something that we're going to continue to really watch, and hopefully, over the next week or 2, we see it slowly gain more momentum back up to 580 and then break through to 6. TTI is something we closed at a loss, right around the, I think, 7% loss level. This is kind of indirectly related to crude and oil here in terms of what they actually do. Once we saw this breakdown of, more or less our buy point, we saw the gap all the way down yesterday morning, really filling in this gap, and then we saw it bounce today. But we closed for a 7% loss, so it's something that we really want to protect profits, and that's what we did here. EMKR is something that had a phenomenal release. They definitely are trading up in after hours right now. I think 2.5% or 19 cents is what I'm saying. What's very interesting is that it got beaten down pre-earnings, but you saw a lot of buying off the lows today. In the last hour of trading alone, you definitely saw an uptick in volume. I watched that very closely just to be sure that we weren't really getting completely wiped out right before the earnings release. So they released, I think, $23 million in revenue for the quarter and 6 cents in EPS. The EPS, I think, is not a beat. I think they actually missed by a cent, but I have to go back and verify that. But I think revenue is a beat. Personally, I think this could be a monster. I've been saying that for a while now, but if you really want to take a look at the weekly just to get a sense of the potential upside here, we're now at the point of really building a very nice base across the 200-day moving average. As you can see, back in 11 and I guess the midpoint of 11, the 200-day moving average was really strong resistance, and we're definitely through that now. So I think this could be a really huge turnaround story. My current target is 10. It has been 10 for, I think, the initial push of our position here. The reason that, actually no, I take that back. It was 8, which we've already touched on, and we sold for 14%. So we have half of the shares remaining, and then the next target is 12. And obviously I'm getting 12 from that long-term resistance point here. And I think once we start to test this level, the lower end of that of 850, once we kind of break through that, I think we'll see a nice uptick to 12. But for the time being, this is a really great trade. Hopefully we see some nice momentum tomorrow. Now that earnings are behind us, they elected a new board director, so I think it's something that this is definitely a good story. If you look at the actual earnings and you focus on the margins, you'll see that operating profit definitely increased quarter over quarter and year over year. That's obviously a major indication of fundamentally this being a great company, at least for the short term. And I think their guidance for FY16 was in line with what they commented on last call. Again, I'll have to go back and verify that again. But, it's a good story because fundamentally they want to hit their target in terms of guidance, and it seems like they're starting to do that. So it could be a large position, a large gainer for us if this starts to test 9 and 10. But we already locked in, 14% here. So it's still a nice win for the time being. The other positions that I wanted to get to are SD, which SD for the time being is, just the type of situation where it's going to trade with crude. I've alluded to this before in the sense that I think fundamentally, the fact that they closed that significant acquisition, I think it was $200 million in cash, I still think that's a very good sign. But frankly, it's just going to be a tough situation here to where I think they're going to need either an investor to come in to kind of support them from a capital standpoint, I should say. I was going to say dividend, but really the majority of their preferred dividends are invested in other forms of trust. So technically, though, if we ignore the fundamentals, we're testing an all-time low. So that's a situation where maybe we can get a bounce back up to 60 cents, similar to what happened in the September to October range. So for the time being, we're still holding this. Again, it's something I'm not going to really sell until we have a fundamental reason to sell. It's always been a call option on crude here. So that's really the major story for the time being. Our watch list stocks have not really played out as much as I really wanted. I think we're going to run new scans tonight just to get a sense of what else is out there in the market. But the major focus tomorrow is going to be EMKR, and just to make sure that we open up strong, we continue to see a push to 850 and 9. But please shoot me a note with any questions, kcapitaladvisors@gmail.com, and I will talk to you guys soon.